Hello everyone, I am Dr. Vishal Rajput from Himalayan School of Biosciences in Swami Rama Himalayan University, and today I am going to discuss about the biogeochemical cycles. As its name states that biogeochemical cycles are connected or concerned with the movement of the nutrient. As it has cycle in its name, that means it's about the rotation of the molecules or the important nutrients. Basically, it's all about the movement of the micro or macronutrients from one part of the environment to the other part of the environment. So it's all about the constructive or positive movement from one place to another place, which makes the ecosystem in a proper flow. So for better understanding of biogeochemical cycle, one must understand about the bifurcation of this particular term. Basically, biogeochemical cycle, or the name of this particular biogeochemical cycles, has been derived or composed of three parts, which is bio, geo and chemical, where bio is concerned with the biosphere. Biosphere is a particular section or part of ecosystem which is connected to the another part of the ecosystem or the biosphere. So basically we can say that herbivorous or the producer is one biosphere and carnivorous or omnivorous is another biosphere. Next part comes the geo. Geo part is concerned with the geological components, which is mostly the biotic or abiotic component found in the ecosystem, and they all take part in the movement of different aspects of the ecosystem. And most important but last, that chemical, meaning chemical, which means the element that move through a cycle. So whole concept of movement is based on the chemical. Here chemical means important nutrients or important parts of the body or elements. These components move from one part to another part. So basically we can mention it that in nutrients or the important macro or micro molecules, they move from one part to another part of one biosphere to another biosphere. Basically we can understand by understanding the that sunlight is in a light form, but it cannot be utilized by directly in the for the energy production or in the form of the energy. But what producers do, they convert this sunlight to the chemical energy. So now it starts moving from one biosphere to another biosphere. So here, if we talk about the formal definition of biogeochemical cycle, it must be that biogeochemical cycles mainly refer to the movement of nutrient and other elements between biotic and abiotic factors. So basically the biotic factors are the living and abiotic factors are non-living part of the ecosystem, and the movement of nutrient from these two components or these two strata is concerned with the biogeochemical cycle. Now basically if we talk about further, that there is a law of conservation of mass states that matter is neither created nor destroyed. For example, after a chemical reaction, the mass of the product, which must be the ending molecule, will be the same as the mass of the reactant, which must be the starting molecule. So basically the same, its matter moves through different media and one part to another part of the ecosystem. So basically movement of nutrient, suppose one biosphere is consuming some part of the energy in the form of the nutrient, but finally it is converting it into another form of the chemical and transferring to the other component of the ecosystem. Now nutrients, the whole biogeochemical cycle is based or connected or concerned about the nutrient, because for survival of the body of the plant or as well as the organism, we need nutrients. So or ultimately nutrients we cannot produce except the plants. So the movement of nutrient must be free flowing and must be available to all. So this is the most important part of the biogeochemical cycle. Basically earth is a source of matter for all living organisms, as they require around 40-45 elements for their growth and the life process. These elements are required for development as well as the maintenance. Some elements and their compounds have an important role in the simple living protoplasm and are required in the large amounts. So, certain essential nutrients are needed in the large amount and we must call them the macronutrient, or we can call them the essential nutrient. For example, carbon, nitrogen, oxygen, phosphorus, sulfur, these comes under the category of the macronutrient. On the other side, there are certain elements, those are required in minute quantities but have a role in the functioning of living protoplasm. These elements are called as the micronutrient, or basically trace element. In other words, we can say that micronutrients are essential but their quantity is lesser. So, but ultimately their quantity is not the basis of the deciding their importance. And for the survival of the protoplasm, micronutrients are also essential as much the macronutrient. Example of micronutrient is magnesium or copper and several further. Now, biogeochemical cycle can also be called as the nutrient cycle, and for example, the elements are provided by earth are used by the organisms for the bodybuilding as well as the metabolism. They are called as the biogenetic nutrient, or as we can call them the biogeochemicals. The movement or circulation of biogenetic nutrient through the living and non-living components of a biosphere or of any ecosystem should be called as the biogeochemical cycling. So, basically it is all about the rotation of the nutrient from beginning to end point and again coming back to the beginning point. So, it must be available to all the part of the ecosystem. Further, biogeochemical cycles are the cyclic pathway through which chemical elements move from environment to organisms and back to the environment. So, ultimately a cyclic movement you can see over here, that environment is giving nutrient to the organism, and one they are utilizing, they are converting into another form, and somehow or sooner or later they will return this particular component to the environment. So, a cyclic movement is present. For example, decomposition. Throughout the life, what animal do? They keep consuming the nutrient for their maintenance as well as they reserve the nutrient also. But after the death, they get decomposed by the microorganisms and all the nutrients come back to the environment. So, it is all about the giving and taking. It must be in the cyclic form. Since such movements of elements and inorganic compounds is essential for maintenance of life, they are also called as the nutrient cycle. So, basically nutrient cycle is all about the movement as well as the other component of the part. Here you can understand this with another example. For example, we go for a hypothetical experiment and we put 2 flower pot in your garden, and what we do, we will treat them in a different way. In a first pot, what we will do, we will remain or we will leave the soil when unattended, we will just give them water and nothing else. On the contrary side, in the second pot, we keep giving them water. Apart from that, we will add soil in it after a particular time on a regular interval. Moreover, we will give them more manure or the fertilizer. After a certain period of time, you will definitely see that there will be a difference in the growth and the development of the flower plant which has been planted in those particular plots. Why it is happening? Because the biogeochemical cycle is ceasing or getting slow in the first plot, but in the second plot it keeps continuing. So, this will be the better option for this particular. Further continuing this example, if what we will do, we remove or we put off the plants and plant them a new plant over there. But in the first pot, we will continue with the same practice, just give them water, nothing else. But in the second pot, we add some new soil plus fertilizer. Again, the development of the plant will be different. Why? Because what is happening in the first pot, the biogeochemical cycles are being stopped or seized. So ultimately the quantity of soil is same in both the pots, but the biogeochemicals are stopped or hampered. So what is happening? The recycling or the re-availability of the nutrient is hampered, which will be clearly visible in the plants or the growth of the plants. Same happens with the organisms. If this process will continue, that biogeochemical cycle will not work properly, again definitely it will affect on the ecosystem or the health of the ecosystem. Furthermore, there are multiple types of the biogeochemical cycles running in the ecosystem. For example, that biogeochemical cycles are basically of the two types. They can be divided on the basis of their chemical availability as well as the properties. The first category is gaseous cycle, like carbon, oxygen and nitrogen. These are the essential component of the ecosystem and they must be recycled ultimately, because if any deficiency or any pollution or any adulteration will take place, it will directly affect the life of the organisms. On the other hand, there are certain sedimentary biogeochemical cycle like sulfur and the phosphorus. Basically these type of cycle, they do not circulate in the atmosphere. Basically they work in the lithosphere or the soil. So basically in gaseous cycles, the elements have a main reservoir in the gaseous phase and the reservoir pool is the atmosphere or the water. The biogenetic material involved in the circulation pass through a gaseous phase before completing the cycle. On the other hand, in sedimentary cycles, the element's main reservoir pool is in lithosphere and the biogenetic material involved in circulation are non-gaseous. The sedimentary cycles are usually very slow as the elements may get locked up in rocks and go out of circulation for the long period. So to understand this, or in other words, I can elaborate it in a different way. Suppose there is a one word called reservoir. Reservoir is a particular object or the entity of the ecosystem in which a permanent inflow and a permanent outflow must be there. Otherwise, it should be called as the pond or the storage. But reservoir is different. What it does, it keeps receiving the new nutrient and keep passing on the extra nutrient to the next phase. This is the most important thing. And every cycle, whether it is gaseous or the sedimentary, must have one reservoir either in the atmosphere or in the lithosphere. So that lithosphere or the atmosphere reservoir will act as a bank of the nutrient. We will keep sending the nutrient in that particular reservoir and keep withdrawing the nutrient from that particular reservoir. So whole system will work in a cyclic way. Now, in other words, that biogeochemical cycles are the hidden engines driving the Earth's sustainability, which is a very appropriate line, because engine is the most important part of the body, and biogeochemical cycles are those engine. They regulate essential elements like carbon, nitrogen, phosphorus and sustaining life on our planet. Understanding and preserving this cycle is crucial for maintaining the ecological balance, ensuring the food security and combating the climatic change. Because if any biogeochemical cycle or multiple biogeochemical cycle get disturbed, it will directly affect the climatic pattern as well as the food availability on the earth. Now, why biogeochemical cycle needs to be conserved? As they are very important, that biogeochemical cycles are the basis of life and play an important role in maintenance of the life on the earth, and any kind of disturbance to these cycles may result in the destruction of life, as already proven that biological cycles play a crucial role in these particular cycles. Now, what we can do to preserve or conserve these particular biogeochemical cycle, as they are essential for us? For first and most important thing, reduce the deforestation, because forest is the main hub for this particular biogeochemical cycles. Apart from that, carbon footprint must be reduced. Moreover, maximum use of renewable energy as well as the minimum use of fossil fuel, because they are directly affecting the movement of biogeochemical cycle. Apart from that, conservation of water is also a crucial part of this particular process, and conservation of biodiversity, as both plants and animal are the part of this particular biogeochemical cycle. So these all must be conserved for the smooth functioning of biogeochemical cycle. Otherwise, there will be a devastating effect. So that's all for this particular topic. Thank you very much.